long as it's right up against that top plate, you're fine. That's that.
Yeah.
We'll come back and fill in these spaces later. This is start of day 2 on insulation. We got a bit done yesterday, kind of working around some spots in the house. But we've got insulation in the majority of the downstairs here. We did leave a couple spots open. We've got to run our, I want to call it HDMI, but it's not HDMI, Ethernet cable from wherever we're going to put our Wi-Fi over to the computers. Computers will sit over there. So we want to run an Ethernet cable through the walls before we cover the top part of that wall up. There's a propane line that goes back. It's going to go through the outside wall, our master closet, master bathroom, and poke into the corner of the laundry room there. So we've got to drill that hole. So we haven't put insulation in this wall over here yet either. But while my wife was putting the insulation in down here, I was running these black pieces of plastic, these little guys, up in the rafters. What those do is they cover that hole that I drilled, and they allow air to flow in that hole and then up into the rafter. You only have to have them in the bottom 4 foot in this first section of black plastic is all they require you to have. I don't know if it would do any good to have it go all the way up, but I didn't buy enough for that. And what that does is it prevents the insulation from packing down against that hole in the bird block and plugging it from air flowing and getting the moisture out of your attic from summer to winter. You don't want that moisture staying up there in your rafters or your attic, cause a mold problem. So that's why they have those, but they are time consuming to put up. I spent only most of the day. So the space over here, and that piece of roof that's underneath that the dormer windows, that little wall, I've got to cut those to length and put those in. And by that time, after I drill the holes for the Ethernet and the holes for the propane, cut those and put those in, we should be working on the rafter insulation. We should have all the insulation pretty much done down here. But we're gonna get back to it. I'm gonna light up a fire over here to warm this place up a little bit. The more insulation we get put up in here, the more it retains the heat, makes it nicer to work out here.
Oh, yeah.
I did that one. I found that piece downstairs and brought it up, so I remember seeing a couple small areas.
Yeah.
Hope it's filled in. Well, this is the end of day 2, and we've got, I'd say, half of the upstairs. If you include the roof and any walls up here that are getting insulated, I'd say half of this up here is done, and maybe a little bit more than half of the downstairs is done. There are a couple things that I'm noticing I need to do before I finish the upstairs attic space. There's little pieces like above this wall. This wall comes up. There's no place to put the sheetrock or the OSB connect it to right here. So I'm going to have to take out this piece of insulation or maybe push it up a little bit and screw a board in. What I might do actually is take this insulation out, get a piece of 1/2 inch or probably 1/2 inch plywood will do, and just screw it to the top of this 2x4. Make sure it comes out about 2 inches so I have something to screw my sheathing to. Most of the walls up here that I put in, the interior walls, I didn't do that. I didn't put that extra piece in. Downstairs when I put the interior walls in, I put 2x4s back behind there. I don't really want to do that up here. I want as much insulation as I can get. So to put a 2x4 up there is going to take up 1.5 inches. If I get a piece of 1/2 inch at the most, maybe a little bit more than 1/2 inch plywood. I think 1/2 inch plywood would probably do it though. 1/2 inch plywood, you're only taking up 1/2 inch, and I've got a pretty decent air gap above that insulation right now. So I can push it up just a little bit more, still have an air gap, and have something to connect my sheeting to. I think I miscalculated my wall insulation. I don't think I added my gable end walls when I calculated how much wall insulation, how much of that 2x6 R23 I would need, 16 on center. The good thing about it is the 2 bats that go in the ceiling, if I do happen to run out of the wall insulation, I don't have to order more, because one of the bats that goes in the ceiling is R23. It's just 24 on center. So it's the same thickness as the walls. It's just 24 on center instead of 16. A little more work to cut them, to get them to fit in between the 2x6. But if I run out, I do have that option. And as far as the roof goes, I've got insulation everywhere for the roof. I'm definitely going to have more than I need. So I'll get back on this insulation, see if I can get a little bit more done before the sun goes down. And then I'm going to load up my truck with my little bit of returns, head down there, make my returns, get a couple hole saws. I think I need a can of spray foam. This corner spot over here that I can't really get to with the insulation, it's got a little bit of a gap. I want to fill that. I don't want to have any air gaps. I want everything insulated thoroughly on this house. So I figured just spraying some spray foam in that gap would work just fine. So there's a couple things I need to get and a few things I need to return. But I'm going to get back on this insulation, see what I can get done tonight before the sun goes down. Until next time, guys, go make something.